What up, world? Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Command, a DND football podcast. When you hear the glass breaks, you know what time it is. And it's time to get it in with another episode of Breaking Command. It's going to be me, Solo Dolo, tonight. Shout out to my man D-Mitty. He was sick last week. I think the illness is lingering on, but it's all good. We're going to do it. It's going to be a handicap match. It's all right. I'm going solo tonight, but I'm not really solo. I got a guest here for tonight. But before we get into that, man, I want to thank you guys for watching. As always, and if you're here for the first time, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with a friend. And if you feel so inclined to leave us a 5-star review, you can get your 5 seconds of fame. That's it. That's all. So, in lieu of D-Mitty not being here, I said I need to get a guest, somebody that I could talk to that has his ear to the streets, that kind of can weigh in on this whole Commanders thing, man, how we're 3-1 right now. So I said, let me call my buddy. Let me call a friend of the show, ESPN 630 host of the line change for the afternoon drive. Got my buddy Mike Callow. Mike, what up, baby?
D, what's happening, man? How you doing?
Hey, man, beautiful, brother. I'm so glad, man. Last time we talked over the summer, we had kind of low expectations. We kind of didn't know what to expect at this point. But after the first quarter of the season, we have a quarterback. We have a 3-1 football team, and we're taking the league by storm. Mike, give me your first impressions, bro. How the first quarter of the season's going, man?
I mean, let's be real here. The coffee's tasting better in the morning. The food's tasting better. The tailgate's gonna hit a little bit different on Sunday. Unprecedented is the word that I'll use here. I don't think any of us saw it going this way. I think when I was on with you over the summer, I said wins and losses don't matter that much to me this year. It's the improvement of Jayden Daniels every game is what I want to see, because when we were talking about the draft process, my favorite part about Jayden was he gets better at every single level, at every single game. And well, lo and behold, the dude got better over 4 games and they're 3-1. And I didn't see this coming at all whatsoever. And the way that it's been done too, of if you would have told me the offense was going to be so much further along than the defense right now, and that it was going to be the offense making the complementary football happen with the defense on Sunday, I would have said that's like a 1% chance. There's no way that's going to happen. But lo and behold, here we are with not only Jayden Daniels probably going to I won't say probably, but is in front right now for Rookie of the Year, right?
For sure.
If you listen to my show, The Line Change 3 to 5 on ESPN 630, on Friday, I told everybody, yo, Jayden Daniels MVP odds are at plus 10,000. The way the defense is playing, his stats are going to be huge, okay? Like, it's going to go crazy. Well, Sunday happened. That dropped to plus 6,000 right after the game.
Oh, wow.
Overnight happened. It went to plus 2,500.
Wow.
So there's only 9 players ahead of him when it comes to the MVP race. I did not think we would be here 4 weeks in is what I'm getting at here. But this is how you do it. You win Rookie of the Week. You win Offensive Player of the Week. We've all played Madden. We know how we win those awards. You win those awards every week, you're going to get MVP. And so we're here 4 weeks in. I don't know how long it's going to last because a correction's probably going to happen, but it's the way he's playing, and we're all seeing it in front of our eyes. We've never seen anything like this, and I think this is basically the best case scenario is what's happening in front of us, and we're not used to that is what I'm getting at.
Absolutely, absolutely. Once again, guys, it's Mike Callow, the host of the Line Change, broadcasting Monday through Friday from 3 to 5, man. Make sure you lock in and join him on ESPN 630. Follow him right on X, and you can follow the show, of course, at Breaking Command Pod on X, man. Make sure you follow us, man. Breaking Command Pod on X, man. For the latest and greatest in Commanders news and notes, also, you can hit up the YouTube page, Breaking Command, youtube.com/Breaking Command Pod, with the archive of all the episodes, all our favorite guests and friends. You can also see a couple episodes of Mike on there previously too, man. But Mike, man, speaking of the way these guys have been playing through the first quarter of the season, 42 points against the touted Arizona Cardinals, the team that was just gonna dog walk us, the team that was just so good to play Buffalo so well, and they're just the team ready to take the next step. And we went out there after a Monday night victory, put up 42, and the defense held them to 14 points, and we took command. Mike, give me your initial thoughts about the game on Sunday, brother.
So let's talk about before the game, though. I think it's worth mentioning here. Not a lot of people have talked about it. My friend Al Galdi tweeted about it, and I thought he made a great point. Was when was the last time you could remember this team playing a Monday night game away, playing on the West Coast, and then deciding to go right to the West Coast? I literally can't remember it ever happening under Dan. And Galdi made a great point. It's the fact now that ownership is saying to Adam Peters, saying to Dan Quinn, we'll spend a little bit of extra money. We just hope it's worth it in the end. Well, they blew out a team on the road. I don't care who you're playing in the NFL. Blowing out anybody these days is hard, let alone doing it on the West Coast. And all they did was have their biggest win in years on Monday and didn't have a letdown at all whatsoever on Sunday. So I want to lay that out first, that ownership is doing some things that we haven't seen here before as well. And I thought one, too, is a great way for that team to not be distracted by some of the noise by coming back home. Not that they were going to plan on that, but it was also a nice little wrinkle that happened there. As far as the actual game happened, I think what we're seeing now is the culmination of this team's chemistry really coming together. And what I mean by that is we saw in that Monday night game with the Bengals that it was a shootout, right? And we knew it was going to happen because they got Chase and Higgins and a couple other good receivers that basically we're going to burn this defense all day. And they did, essentially. And luckily, Jayden delivers a dagger, and it was just too much for them to overcome. But what I saw on Sunday was the defense finally going, okay, we get it now. We just need to get a couple of big stops, and the offense is going to take care of us. And that's never really happened with the guys that have been here, like John Allen and Deron Payne, right? And after the game, Allen talked to the radio broadcast, and I think it was Bram. Bram asked him, like, hey, are you guys just like a winning team now or something? And he laughed, and which, like, as you know, like John's always super serious. He's like, I guess we are. And then Payne said something similar of like, I guess we have like a winning team now or something along those lines. And all I could really think of was the defense is us, is the fan base.
Yeah.
They've seen that quarterback in practice 3 or 4 years in a row. That looks solid. And they're going, all right, we'll see if he does it. And then the lights turn on and they, you know what, all over themselves.
Yeah.
And then they're looking at this guy going, all right, week 1, first game, he's a rookie, whatever. Week 2, they moved the ball a lot. They didn't score, but hey, they moved the ball a lot. Then Monday happens and the defense, I think, starts going, oh, all we need to do is be good to great at times, and he's got our back. Yeah. And I think that's what you're seeing now. Like, that's why you saw Dorrance Armstrong and the rest of that defensive line all of a sudden start to get really good, because guess what happened? They score a bunch of points, and all of a sudden they're forcing the other team to pass the ball a bunch. And when you know what they're doing, you can set yourself up. And I think so. That's what I think happened on Sunday was they're finally playing complementary football is what finally happened.
And Mike, just like you said, they've been playing complementary football. The defense has really been supporting the offense. And I mean, if they just play average, right, I think the offense will be able to hold them together. And you look at just how they performed just this past week, man, the defense is getting pressure. And I think it's just like a snowball. The confidence begins to happen. They start getting sacks. They start getting pressure. And then even after that first drive, right, you're like, oh, man, it's going to be a shootout. And then they come back and they get a stop. And then, they get another stop. And it's like, oh, wait a second. But the offense keeps scoring. So to only give up 14 points and then the whole Kyler Murray to under, I believe, under 200 yards passing. Hold on, let me get the stats because I had it up here. But he held him. Yeah, he had 142 passing yards. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to hold him to that, and he only had 3 rushing yards. You know what I'm saying? Kyler Murray's game is dynamic, and if he can get out the pocket and make plays. And they really kept him under wraps. So that just goes to show, like, if the defense just gets off the bus, bro, and just plays well, we can do it. I mean, and to put up 25 second half points by the offense. I mean, they had a complete game on Sunday. I would say even more complete than the Bengals game.
Oh, no, 100%. I think to go back to the defense as well, I think it was Logan Paulson on the broadcast for the Bengals game. He basically said, because the Bengals, remember, they were running the ball really well.
Yeah, they were.
And the Cardinals also were running the ball really well.
Yeah.
And what his point was, well, if this defense can't get stops and you can stop them one way, which way do you want to stop them? Well, don't give up these huge plays in the air where they can start chipping away at that lead fast, right? Let them have what they want on the ground, and they're going to have to churn up 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. And you saw it in both games in a row. The Bengals, it got too much for them, and all of a sudden Burrow had to start passing. And then on Sunday with the Cardinals, they're daring Kyler Murray to throw, and that dude, by the way, makes some dumb decisions. For someone that's been in the league for 5 years, dude, 5 years and has an extension, I mean, I didn't want to believe in the Call of Duty stuff, but he seems unserious about his career with some of the decisions he made. It's a
Yeah.
4th and short, and you take a sack, and it was like he wasn't going anywhere except for Harrison. Essentially, like I don't know. Like if I'm a Cardinals fan, I'm worried about that. But
Yeah.
that defense, what I like is they're self-aware. This isn't Ron and Jack trying to tell you that everything's going to work out eventually because of communication. They're going, screw it, run the ball on us. We don't
Yeah.
care. We'll at least take the pass away from you. And having that self-awareness already in the first quarter of the season has gotten them to 3-1.
Yes. You mentioned the previous coaching staff. Different than, the previous coaching staff. We've been talking on this episode for the past couple of weeks. We had Lake Lewis on, we had Felix Trammell on, a few other individuals on, even with Nick Ackridge last week of PFF. We talked about the coaching staff making changes from a game to game situation. You saw week 1 where we failed, right? Let's get rid of it. We go to the next thing. And with this coaching staff, the addition of Cliff Kingsbury on offense, who went back to the desert and was in his bag. Mike, give me your impression on Cliff Kingsbury, how he did against his former team, and even, how he even got to DC in the first place, man.
Yeah, this is a fun one to unpack. I mean, first let's just start off. He gets fired from the Cardinals after a couple of failed playoff runs, some bad second halves, and what does he do? He goes full Zen mode, man. Goes to Thailand or whatever, takes a year off of football. I don't blame him on that. He's around my age. Like that's what the millennials do now. Like you take a year off of work. His agent calls and says, "Hey man, you got to at least look for some work, or else the Cardinals aren't going to give you that money." So he goes to USC. And I guess during Thailand and USC, he had this epiphany that running the ball sets the pass up. And lo and behold, this team is rushing the ball. It doesn't even matter who's back there, whether it's Robinson, whether it's Eckler, whether it's McNichols, who scored twice. He's been in his bag since preseason. I've loved the games that he's been calling since preseason. He seems like a new man, basically. It's not the same old air raid Cliff Kingsbury offense. The craziest part about it is he was literally signing a 2-year contract to be the offensive coordinator in Vegas for the Raiders. This team calls and says, we'll give you 3 years. He decides to go ahead and take that deal. And I don't know if we're at where we're at right now without him actually doing this, because I think it's very easy for any other coach. Look at what happened with Eric Bieniemy last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
To come in and go, I got this shiny new 2nd overall pick that I know can throw the deep ball. He did it all day long at LSU. I'm just going to have him do that. And instead, Cliff has actually shown restraint and pretty much said, we're going to establish the run in every single game unless it gets out of hand, which it did in week 1. And he made some weird decisions. And look at what they're doing. They're now doing that to the other teams, right? So I look at Cliff and just think he reinvented himself. And kind of an underrated thing here is there's already people kind of saying, well, what if he leaves as a head coach or whatever? The running game coordinator is Anthony Lynn, who was also a former head coach. Like, they thought about this already. My only hope is that maybe Cliff goes, I don't know. I got a really good quarterback here. Maybe there's a Lions situation where he decides to stick around if he doesn't want to be a head coach. I don't know. I'm not going to go that far. We're 4 games in.
Yeah.
I've been super impressed by him, though, because I think the word I use with it is we have a professional offense finally. They go hurry up. There's motions. There's movement. There's different formations. They run the same play out of different formations. It's just something that had been lacking here basically forever. I mean, I think the closest thing they had was Jay Gruden's offense, but even that, you could kind of see it by the end that teams were figuring that out and it wasn't good enough.
We're getting the ball out on time. The first week was when we had really the pre-snap penalties. And then the Giants game, we had the false starts. But you look at that since we didn't have too many penalties in the Bengals game. We didn't have many penalties the other day against the Cardinals. And you look at that staff as a whole, you got to give big kudos to OG Bobby Johnson on the offensive line. That I tweeted this. I said our offensive line should win comeback player of the year, because at this point last year, they'd already given up about 50 sacks. And now, of course, it's retooled and revamped. But this offensive line is playing like dogs. They have essentially a seven-man rotation. You see the blocking schemes. You have tight ends that are willing to block. You have running backs that are willing to step up and make those additional blocks, man. This offense is a professional offense. And the way the media has taken to the team, man, they love Jayden. They love our offense. And we're mentioned on all the top shows of Colin Cowherd is constantly mentioning us. Stephen A. Smith mentioned us as the number 5 team on his power rankings. Stephen A. Smith. You know what I'm saying? Ryan Clark is in love with Jayden Daniels. Like, I mean, we're really there, bro. Like we're there. I just wish this was later in the season because I don't want to run out of this steam, bro.
But I think what it is, and we haven't talked much about Jayden already. Like we've talked about a
Yeah,
lot of other things, but like we haven't gotten to the nitty gritty of Jayden. And you and I were talking before the show, and like if you've watched him though, you get it. Like this isn't Robert making one read and taking the ball and run.
yeah.
This isn't early Lamar where it's one read and he's looking to just sprint off. I think it was David Aldridge. I think David has my favorite comparison. He basically tweeted a GIF from Neo from the Matrix and was like, "This dude is the one." And what I get though, but I get it though. Like, how many times just 4 weeks in have we seen two defenders running at the dude, and when he takes off, they're nowhere to be found. Like he's so fast in the first 10 yards that he knows, and he knows he's fast in his first 10 yards. He just sits over there when he rolls out of the pocket, and then he's daring the other team to do something. He goes, all right, if you don't do something, I'm going to take the 10 yards. And that's what I'm saying. I think the media that's actually watching these games is going, we haven't seen anything like this because like Lamar, I'm sure some teams were Lamar and RG3 and those types, they're daring those dudes to throw the ball because they were inaccurate at times or they couldn't make good decisions. This guy's going to kill you both ways, and that's why it's kind of crazy. And we're 4 games in. I think that's why everyone's losing their mind over it a little bit.
I've seen film from JT O'Sullivan, Dan Orlovsky, Chase Daniel,
They're losing
Brian
it. They're losing their mind.
Baldinger. Everybody is saying great things. And the thing about it is he hasn't given you too much to nitpick and say, he should have did this better. He's only had the one turnover. He got the turnover out the way. You knew it was coming at some point. But he's played so well. He's been so protective of the football. It's not really too many situations where, I think this coaching staff is not going to trust him because he has shown that in crucial situations, I'm not going to make the bad pass. I'm going to make the right read. I'm going to essentially take what the defense gives me. And we look at on Sunday, they threw to 9 different receivers. You know what I mean? Through the 9 different receivers. So he doesn't just target one guy. He spreads the ball around. Everybody's open in this offense, whether it's, 5 yards down the field or 50 yards down the field in Terry's case. So he's very smart with the football. I mean, just, his ability to really galvanize and know the playbook. And it's like I mentioned this on Rambling with Rio the other day. It's that times Jayden's just the smartest guy on the field. And that's not common for a 25-year or 24-year-old rookie. But his thing was, right, he played a lot of football. He was a 5-year starter. He came out prepared. So he's not like your average, rookie quarterback who maybe played 2 years, had a hot season, and, left while he was hot. He's literally had 5 years to build on.
Well, I think that's the most impressive part about him too, right? Like I wasn't going to be opposed to having Caleb Williams, but I think there's a lot of red flags if he came to play here, right? Coming home to play, right? But Caleb reminded me a lot of RG3 in those flashy ways. He's on magazine covers. He's got these off the field. I wouldn't call them off the field things, but things that just bring attention to himself. Like, and I'm not trying to disparage him when I say it. Like, it's the painting nails thing. It's wearing a dress thing. It's crying in his mom's arms. Like, it's just things that if you are hyper aware, you just don't do it to bring attention to yourself. And once again, I'm not trying to tell somebody to not be who they are because that's who he is. But you know how this league works. You know how this sport works, really, is what it is. And all Jayden has done is put his head down, go to work, has to be kicked out of the building. There's really no hype train on him either. I think the team did a great job of not letting him do a million interviews, over the summer. They protected him very well. The team basically said, you'll get popular. All you got to do is win. And here we are a month into the season, and it's a fever pitch out of the park, right? And so, like, looking at him and how he has played and how he's being a leader of this team, it's galvanized everybody. Like, the defense is talking about how they're a good team now because of him. They're making fun of him while he's doing his press conference with the media when they're all walking by. Like, those are things that are little, but you notice because it means the players genuinely like him as well. And like the thing you heard over the summer was he loved talking trash about everyone's college teams. Like, you wouldn't get that impression of him with the few media sessions that he's done. But like John Allen said, like, he would make fun of Alabama because he's LSU. Like, he's doing things behind the scenes too. He's not trying to rah-rah and say, look at me, guys, look how good I am. So what I'm getting there is he was number 2 overall pick because I think people just were like, oh yeah, he's really good, but like didn't notice the flashy things. And also Caleb was like the self-anointed number 1 overall pick for 2 seasons. So were you going to be the GM that passes that guy up to get Jayden? Like, probably not. So I think there's a lot of like factors here that pushed him to that position.
Man, sometimes it's okay for the good thing to fall to you, man. This might be a life proverb to not just take the first shiny option, man. Sometimes the second option is very good.
Dude,
It's a good option.
second option, Jayden Daniels. Second option, Dan Quinn. Second option, Cliff Kingsbury. Like, I mean, there's something about the second choices here
Just saying.
that clearly are, working here. So
I'm just saying, man. And of course, man, and we know that you guys always have another option, but we appreciate you for checking in on Breaking Command and D&D Football Podcast. Of course, if you're watching right now, you can subscribe at youtube.com/Breaking Command Pod. Hit that notification bell, man. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m., new episode drops with some of your favorite local media members and local guests on the social. Make sure you check it out. And of course, every Monday through Friday, check out our guy, Mean Mike Kello on ESPN 630 with the line change. Mike, man, and I ain't gonna keep you long, brother. I just want to hit this defense a little bit, man. The defense has struggled, but they got it together now. And I'm not even getting on the defensive play. I wanted to get to Frankie Louvu in the locker room, bro, doing the haka. Boy, I was about to have to call my contractor because I almost ran through a wall in here, brother. Man, I mean, it's just the hypeness on the defense. Even like you said, right? And I'll take it back to a point you mentioned. You said how everybody Jayden is not like out there, right? I think they've all taken on the mentality of Dan Quinn, right? Like he's kind of a chill guy. He says the right things. He's galvanizing people in the media. And like everybody's kind of just like, let's just do our thing and not listen to the outside noise. The defense played better and stepped it up. Those leaders that they really went and found, man, like that's something that they said on one of the Commanders log episode that we're trying to look for commanders, trying to look for our guys. And we didn't really know what that meant until now. We see it all across the board that guys like Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Austin Eckler on offense, hope he comes back healthy this week. But I mean, guys just are players, man. Speak to what Adam Peters has done with this offensive and defensive roster to really like build this team and make them the new look Commanders, man.
No, I mean, I would throw Jeremy Chin in there too.
Yes,
I mean, that dude plays like a missile at times. He and Luvu, I mean, both play like a missile at times. I think this is kind of the fault of Ron, not to keep bringing it back to Ron, but Ron wasn't a good talent evaluator. And when you're not a good talent evaluator, your next option is to go the Joe Gibbs route, draft good people. And I just don't think he had a touch or a pulse on how to do that. And I think Peters has now kind of done that both ways, right? Like he's finding these brand new leaders like Wagner, like Luvu, like Chin, and even the veteran defensive ends like Cleveland Farrell and Dorrance Armstrong. Like he went and signed solid veterans instead of trying to just plug the hole with a young rookie. And with that, I think he also got players though that are going to respond to Dan Quinn. How much did we hear it over the summer that Wagner only came here because of Quinn, that those defensive ends came here because they wanted to play for Quinn? Like that was a factor here. It wasn't just hey, we need a linebacker, here's the contract. That's the other difference here, is that he's trying to find people that are actually going to respond to coaching. And I'll say this to Dan Quinn too. He's an adult in the room that can coach. Like I think that's the other factor that that like after 4 years of Ron and Jack, we figured out they couldn't coach guys. Like they could put guys in positions, but they didn't know how to physically actually tell people how to play better. There's a Mike Tomlin clip that I always love, that I always see on Instagram every now and then on a reel, where he's like, coaches that run away from coaching are stealing, essentially. Like he basically said, like, in college, you get a scouting report from a receiver and it's, oh, well, his hands aren't sure or something. And he's going, well, whose fault is that to not tell him how to catch better or do these drills that make him how to catch better? And it just brought me back to Ron, because I think everything that was bad last year, it started with Emmanuel Forbes. You drafted a cornerback that was a ball hawking corner that you put on A.J. Brown, who was MVP the first 4 weeks of last season. And then you just said, oh, we're going to give him a mental break because he's having a tough time. Well, yeah, no bleep, Sherlock, he was having a tough time. It was the first 4 games in the NFL and the MVP. Like, so what I'm getting at here is Peters have gotten guys that are going to respond to that coaching, and he knows that he has guys that are coaching. And speaking of Forbes, we even talked about him. He had a solid game on Sunday too. Like I hope he can become a solid player. I don't think he's going to be a number 1 corner, but you need first round picks to be at least a number 2 or a number 3 at times. But that's how Peters has done it. I think he's gotten guys that are willing to listen to coaching And if they're willing to do that, there's no excuse for the guys behind you, too. That's the difference there, too. You kind of have to get on the ship or they're going to trade you like certain guys that they traded right before preseason ended.
Absolutely, man. Quickly, Devontae Adams has mentioned that he's now available. Do we bite? Do we?
The price I saw, like after I saw the report, was second round pick. I'm not willing to do that.
Okay.
I would do like a third or a fourth or a conditional fourth. His market's going to be a little hot. You got to remember too, he's basically got 1 year left on his deal because after this year, he has no guaranteed money on
Right.
his contract. So he's going to make a stink if you keep him around.
Yeah.
And I think like it's fun to think about getting another piece here, but I think you got to hold on to your draft picks right now because the timeline is what the timeline is. And that means I'd rather draft a receiver in the second round, have that dude on a rookie contract, not get carried away at it right now. Also, let's be real here. The offense is humming just fine. And I know they're going to play an elite defense in 2 weeks with the Ravens, and we'll see how they stack up with like an elite number one type defense.
Yeah.
But I'd rather go see them shore up their defense instead. Yeah. I'd rather go to a bad team that has a number two corner that could really probably step in and be here and be a number one, or go grab an edge rusher from somebody that season is starting to crumble. And like same thing, their backup could be our starter essentially. I think Adam Peters should go shopping, but it's not going to be for the names that we hear about. I'd love to have Adams, but I think his price already is too high for a second round pick.
Yeah, but now we at that point where it's like, the fans believe that we might be a guy away, 4 weeks in, but who knows, man? Who knows? But we can't look past the Browns this week. Got the Browns coming to town. First home game in a while. The stadium should be packed. It should be a lot of burgundy and gold. I think the fans are gonna rally. We're really gonna see. The fans are gonna put their money where their mouth is. You saw they went to Arizona. They were out there big time, and now they're gonna be at Northwest Stadium, making a big deal, playing the Browns. Quick thoughts on how this game against the Browns are gonna go, man.
First up, I will say this. I was at the Giants game, the home opener.
Same.
I have never seen, I don't know if you feel the same way about me, but I've never seen so many people wearing a new guy's jersey. I mean, it was noticeable how many fives were in the crowd. So those were the people that were already buying in regardless.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it's going to look like coming up this Sunday, being that he's the number one jersey seller in the NFL right now. It's going to be ridiculous. And Browns fans don't exactly travel. So it's actually going to be a burgundy and gold type crowd. So I think same thing, like if they get off to a hot start, it's going to be wild, man. Like that's the only way I think I can describe what it's going to be, because people have been posting that clip of RG3 in week 17 when they beat the Cowboys to get into the playoffs. Like people are longing for that type of environment again. And this guy could definitely do it. As far as the actual game, I think it's a trap game. I mean, it's absolutely a trap game. You're playing the Browns at home. They need a win badly, in a bad way.
And they got a good defense too.
Good defense, probably the best edge rushers they've faced, this season. I like the Giants defensive line, don't get me wrong, but they have the best edge rushers, I think, that we've played against. And so it's going to be a tall task, but it's kind of like it's a new day. It's a new day. Yes, it is. Jayden's our quarterback. Yeah, Jayden's our quarterback. I don't really care who's on the other side at this point. Here's what's funny. You've had everyone have different approaches to him, and he's already figuring out how to beat them all. I'm just saying, I like us because we're at home, and that Jayden is actually able to beat these defenses. You've had teams try to blitz the crap out of him, and he's made them burn. And then you had the Cardinals the other day, for some reason, just sit back, and he burned them that way too. So I don't see the Browns coming up with something new here. I like the Commanders, and I like them to cover that 3 points.
Man, it's funny watching these games now. It's like I feel way confident as a fan that we're gonna make the play, that we're gonna win it, that we're gonna have an opportunity, man. I mentioned last week to Nick that I had to watch the Bengals game on a plane coming home on Southwest, and I never want to do that again, by the way. Because you know me, man. I like to yell and scream, sit in front of this big TV that I got down here and go off, or go down to the stadium and have a good time. So it's like now, man, every week it's appointment television, man. And I can't wait to see what we do against the Browns. I'm expecting more. I'm expecting us to do it again, and the fans are gonna show out, man. They've been talking, and then those Ravens tickets, man, those prices skyrocketed. I was wondering if they were gonna flex it, but they said CBS protected that game.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they CBS knew that's a 1 o'clock game, so they protected that game, and then they said they couldn't move it to 4 because Fox has a doubleheader. So they
Okay.
got the
Right.
Lions and Cowboys as well at 4 o'clock today. So they said they couldn't flex it. But I'm like, man, that game should be on NBC Sunday night instead of Bengals Giants, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's ridiculous. To your point too, by the way, like appointment viewing, like it's changed. Like I think even me working in sports, even you being a diehard fan, some of those like Heineke years, even last year,
Yeah.
you can kind of drop in halftime and see what's going on, or tune out at halftime, and you know the story. There's not much to it. And now it's like, oh, it's 1 o'clock. I have to be like seated watching every play. I'm stuck here until 4 o'clock. Like
Honeydew list is
it's
done.
yeah,
Food
like
is food is grilled. I've walked from the parking lot to my seat. Like I need to be in my seat 1 p.m. or 4:25 or 8:30, ready to rock and roll.
bro, like on Sunday, yeah, because like I'm training for a marathon. So Sundays are normally my long runs, right? And I'm doing the math in my head and I'm going, all right, I'm gonna be done by like 10:30, but I'm gonna be up at like 5 or 6 because that's just how early you gotta get up, right? And I'm like, well, that means I gotta be home by like 10:30, 11 because I need to take a nap because I'm not falling asleep during the game. Like that's how it went. Like my whole day now revolves around this team in a way that it didn't before, and that can't just be me either. Like I know
Nope.
you and me are fanatics, but
Bruh.
like everyone wants to watch him now. Like people's lives are literally now changing on Sundays because there's a quarterback worth watching now.
Mike, we had a 4 o'clock game, of course, as you know, man. I got up, I did my Sunday stuff. I cleaned the house, watched a little bit of church on TV, made my little runs that I had to make. 1 o'clock, I made my food, right? So then about 2 o'clock, everybody in the house changed clothes. Everybody had commander stuff on. My wife put her commander t-shirt on. Savannah put her commander stuff on. She was ready and locked and loaded. And I mean, I was really anticipating. And then for us to come out and have that performance, Mike, I was so proud, man. It's so proud. And like you said earlier, man, the coffee tastes better. The conversations at work, man. I'm coming to work, and for the first 30 minutes, I'm talking about the game, man. Everybody's smiling, everybody's happy. They're proud to be a Commanders fan. Those fans that left are now back, and they want to root for the team again. I think you even mentioned it. I'm not buying anything, Commander. Okay, don't buy
Fine.
it.
No, two parts on that. That yeah, on that one of the people that were like, I'm not rooting for this team because of the old. I'm sorry if you are not watching this team because of that. You're the dumbest human. You're the dumbest human being because it is so fun right now. And this isn't me saying like don't wear your Redskins gear. I rock it all. I wear it all. But like to say that you're not going to root for the team anymore because of the name change is the dumbest thing in the world. And even certain accounts that like to go after that are live tweeting the games. So like, how much are you actually not into this franchise at the moment?
Man.
The other part that you mentioned there with like coworkers and stuff, I'm starting to see it again. We're like, I'm seeing Washington gear on the streets again. We're like, you see a hat here and there. You see a Commander's hoodie there. Like, you see kids wearing some Commander's gear now. And I'm like, huh, interesting. Like, I've been waiting for this for like 10 years, basically. And that's where I also start to buy into of like, that's when the city's behind it. I have friends that, are my age in their 30s.
Yeah.
And they didn't live here. They didn't grow up here. And I have to sound like the old man. And I'm like, you don't really know what this city is like when they're winning. They're like, what do you mean? And I was like, you just don't get it. Like, you're going to see gear on the streets. You're going to have people asking you if you saw the game, and you're going to feel dumb when you don't watch the game. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to start watching the team, and you're going to start rooting for them. And they're like, no, like, this isn't that big of a football city. I'm like, no, like, you're wrong. Like, dormant is the word that I'm using here. And that those of us that have been following it we were barely holding on.
Yeah.
It's taken 4 weeks to get everyone back on. Like, it's about to happen again where you're going to see all that stuff in the streets all over again.
Mike, I love it. And as the fans return to glory with the Commanders, Tell everybody where they can return to your show, The Line Change, on ESPN 630.
All right, so a laundry list of things here. I took over Bram's time slot. Bram is now 11 to noon. You can still catch me with Bram 11 to noon every single day as well. Of course, Bram is now the play-by-play voice of the team. He's gotten a lot more popular over the last 4 weeks.
Awesome, by the way. Awesome, by the way. If you seriously, but I'm gonna let you finish, Mike. But I want to tell
No,
people, if y'all get an opportunity to check out Big 100.3, please go check out him. London, who's out right now dealing with his issue. Definitely shout out to him.
yeah.
And Logan, Bram is making the calls. They got the Bram cam up there, bruh. I love it. I tell people, man, I'm like, go listen to it, man. It's giving. He's gonna be the voice of this new Commanders era, like Sonny Sam and Frank was of the old era, bro. And I love that for him. But go ahead, Mike, finish.
And no, to your point too, he's been calling these games since the pandemic season, 2020, and he's
Yes.
done a great job. But the problem is the team hasn't been good and people haven't tuned in. Well, people are finally tuning in and they're realizing how good Bram is. Bram is one of us. He grew up a fan. This is his dream job. He's very enthusiastic, and his calls exude that. Like, go look up the videos. They're fantastic. It's actually pinned on NFL Films Twitter account right now if you want to go find it. But I'm on with Bram. Bram, of course, very close to the team. So our Friday shows are really good, where he's already talked to, or he's about to talk to Dan Quinn, and he's kind of been at practice all week. So you'll get a really good preview every Friday with him. Then my show is now on 3 to 5 on ESPN 630. And if you're not here locally, you can go to ESPN630DC.com, or we have an app where you can get that. Or just type in my name, Mike Callow, The Line Change, and you can get the podcast. Bram will also join my show every Friday at 4 o'clock and every Monday at 4 o'clock to preview the game and then talk about the game as well. So we got you covered the whole entire way. I'm on Monday through Friday, and so just check it out there.
Mike, we love you, brother. We appreciate you. And let's hope this Commanders thing keep rolling, bro. Because let me tell you what, I'm doing way more content. I'm putting my face out there even more when we keep winning. I'm making appearances, bro. It's good when they win, we win. You know what I mean?
Trust me, man. It makes my life so much easier that I get to talk about winning football every single day instead of the same old. Eric Bieniemy dropped him back 50 times again. We knew it wasn't going to work, but he went and did it again. And is the head coach going to do something about it? No, it's not a grind. It's not a grind the last month.
Mike, they keep winning. Soon enough, it's going to be all right. 3 to 5. Call in 202 ESPN 630. Call in right now.
Yeah, me and what producer?
Right. Hey, man, Mike, we appreciate you joining the show. Of course, everybody, we thank you for tuning in to another episode of Breaking Command, a DND4 podcast. We'll catch you. Let's go, Commanders. Let's beat the Browns. Peace.